Right now, on to the point. A company set on reopening an old gold mine in the foothills. The opposition from the company ahead of a major vote tomorrow. The highest paid person in the city of Sacramento could get even more money. We're live tonight as City Council debates a $20,000 pay raise for the city manager. A California agency announces a new effort to address the homeless crisis.
Homelessness is a challenge. It's a crisis.
Their process to help get people off the streets. And in a story you'll only see on ABC 10.
The only time that you were able to see a glimpse of the true monster, Joseph DeAngelo, was in his cell.
We sit down with the prosecutor behind the Golden State Killer case. Good evening. This is To the Point. I'm Alex Bell. Tonight we are starting with a story that we have been following for months. Mines and the search for gold. For the past few years, one company has been trying to make that a reality again, and they have been confronted with a lot of pushback. So if you remember, just months ago, hundreds of people packed a meeting in Nevada County for and against reopening the historic Idaho-Maryland mine in Grass Valley. Many are concerned about their water supply, traffic, and sound that a mining operation could cause. A 10,000-page environmental report was discussed, and the company that wants to reopen the mine paused their plans. Now the company is going before the County Board of Supervisors tomorrow to see if they can really start the mining process. Our Jeannie Nguyen shows us what's at stake.
Reopening the Idaho-Maryland mine would be a disaster to the community.
The fight continues for many Nevada County residents as the Board of Supervisors is preparing for a public hearing Wednesday morning to decide if the company Rise Gold has vested rights to continue its steps to reopen the historic Idaho-Maryland mine.
If the board is to find vested rights, that they have a vested right to mine, then the next step we would go to another public hearing.
Because the mine was active before the county changed its zoning, Rise Gold is requesting vested rights to reopen the mine without being subject to the California Environmental Quality Act. If the county approves the company's request, Rise Gold's CEO says he will continue with the next steps to reopen the mine, like getting a water discharge permit and letting the county know what would happen once mining is complete. But if the county denies the vested rights,
potentially have a cause of action related to the fact that we have a property. It's we own the land, and like most businesses, feel like we're entitled to operate our business.
Even though it is up to the board to decide, a county staff report found Rise Gold does not have vested rights to the mine and recommends the board deny them access. Back in May, the County Planning Commission rejected the company's project proposal following the environmental impact report.
Our hope is that the County Board of Supervisors will reject Rise Gold's claim to vested rights.
Even with the controversy surrounding this project, the CEO is still staying cautiously optimistic.
Going in with optimism, but also need to be realistic and understand that these processes and permitting processes often have twists and turns.
And Jeannie joins us now with some updates within Rise Gold's leadership and also some legal issues they're facing. Now, a few months ago, you spoke to the former CEO. There's now a new CEO. Can you kind of explain what's been going on?
Yeah, Alex. Well, back in July, Ben Mossman was convicted of 13 counts of improperly discharging substances from another mine in Canada. He managed to avoid jail time, but was fined about 30,000 Canadian dollars. Now, since then, he's no longer CEO of Rise Gold, but is listed on the company's website as the director.
All right, Jeannie, thank you for the update. And I also want to mention the Board of Supervisors meeting will happen tomorrow at 9 a.m., so we will keep you updated as more comes out. All right, tonight, the highest paid person in the city of Sacramento could get even more money. City Manager Howard Chan could get a $20,000 pay raise and 240 hours of additional leave. ABC 10's Alicia Machado is live at City Council tonight. And Alicia, this is definitely not the first time that this has been proposed or that we have talked about it.
Well, yeah, Alex, if this raise sounds familiar, that's because it was up for consideration back in August before being pulled from the agenda. Now resurfacing tonight in a special meeting. We are still waiting for that meeting at this time. It'll happen after the close of the regular session tonight. Now, City Manager Howard Chan currently makes about $400,000 a year. That's after getting a raise last November. And Alex, as you said, this pay raise would bump up his salary by about $20,000 a year. earlier this year, the city council voted to give Chan the full authority to make decisions on how to deal with the homeless crisis. On top of that, he's also responsible for all city departments, including the Sacramento Police Department. In addition to the city manager, city attorney, auditor, clerk, treasurer, also the director of public safety accountability are also all up for raises. Now, city documents state that the raises will provide cost of living adjustments. A reason for the city manager's additional paid leave was not listed on those documents. Now, we brought questions about that and community concerns in opposition to the raise to the city. Some community members drawing concerns about Chan already being one of the highest paid employees in the city and saying that money would be better spent elsewhere on community resources or items for folks in need out here. Now, the city spokesperson did not answer our questions about that and instead referred us to individual city council members. We will continue to follow this and bring you more updates tonight on Late News Tonight at 11. Alex?
All right, Alicia, thank you. Tonight, we are learning new details about what is being called a workplace shooting in Lodi. We first brought you this story on Friday as breaking news. So new surveillance video shows the moment police tracked down a home invasion suspect in Galt, who they later learned was the suspect in that Friday shooting. 25-year-old Frank Avila was identified by fingerprints at the Sacramento County Jail. Police believe Avila walked into Holtz Rubber Friday afternoon, shooting his co-worker, 33-year-old Cody Braun, then leaving the scene.
So at this point, we do know that for some point in time, they have been co-workers at Holtz Rubber. We are still investigating a motive as to whether that may be something that happened at work or something that they have a history of.
Lodi police tell us they are considering the victim's status as a registered sex offender for crimes against minors in San Joaquin County as one of the shooter's possible motives. Now, we stopped by Holtz Rubber today where the shooting happened, and we were told no comment. The ongoing housing and homeless crisis is something that we talk about really often on this show. And now there's a new effort focused on addressing the crisis. ABC 10 anchor Chris Thomas spoke with CalTrans on the record last night about their new office. And Chris, when you think of CalTrans, this is not exactly what comes to mind, but this director has a really big goal.
I mean, you can say that again. So her goal is to end the homeless crisis. And keep in mind, back in 2022, the homeless population almost doubled in the last 3 years to more than 9,000 people in Sacramento County alone. It's a number surpassing even San Francisco. And that's why CalTrans announced a new office focused solely on the homeless crisis. The office is less than a year old, and it's called the Office of Homelessness and Encampments.
We really need to work on bringing in the communities and really working on partnerships to see if we can do a better job at addressing this crisis known as homelessness on our state right-of-way. And so in 2022, we created the Office of Homelessness and Encampments to do just that.
Now, CalTrans is not just stopping at removing encampments. The state is also pledging millions of dollars to actually get folks off the streets and into housing, Alex.
And Chris, were they able to give any insight on how the removal process actually works?
Yeah, because we know this can be controversial, right? So here's what we know. Before cleaning out the area, they give the homeless about 3 days notice to vacate the property and also find possible shelter. And if any items are left behind, we're told CalTrans is responsible for storing the items for about 90 days or so. So that way, the homeless can have a chance to come and collect their things.
We have a little bit of time there, yeah. All right, we'll be curious to see what the department does. Thanks, Chris. We appreciate it. All right, and you can read more about CalTrans' office and the response from the mayor about the new initiative right now on abc10.com. Meantime, tonight, an area along the Sacramento River known as a place for the unhoused to stay is undergoing construction. City officials have begun maintenance work on its flood control system. They say this will include vegetation management as well as repairing fencing and levee slopes along the Sacramento River near downtown, at a ditch near Folsom and Kiefer Boulevards and a ditch near I-80. City leaders say they are working together to ensure the safety and well-being of those camping in the impacted areas. The fixes are expected to take several weeks. Next, the local celebration today honoring Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Patchy frost and fog continue through much of this work week. Then a big storm lineup as a plume of moisture starts to head our way. Timing and totals coming up.
And it's been 3 years since the man responsible for dozens of rapes and murders in California was sent to prison. Coming up, a lead prosecutor shares details in the case.
He was always trying to manipulate us, the public, his family, everybody.
Every December 12th, millions of people in Mexico and all around the world celebrate what's known as Our Lady of Guadalupe. The day commemorates the appearance of the Virgin Mary to the indigenous Juan Diego in 1531. Today, people celebrated at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church right here in Sacramento. Many believe she's granted them miracles they've asked her for, while others look to her for guidance. And Monica, you can see a lot of people out there, but it was a little chilly today.
Yeah.
I know some people are still out there, might need a jacket.
Right, I saw a lot of jackets out there on that video there, and we're going to continue to see those cool overnight lows, much like what we had today. 34 is where we started off for Sacramento Executive with that afternoon high of 62. That is a little bit on the cooler side, at least for those morning lows. Now, you'll notice for the afternoon high, 56 degrees. So we are looking at improving conditions there for the afternoon. At least we get some of that sunshine and the warmer weather in there. Here's how things are shaping up for tonight. Forecast low 36 degrees. We'll see temperatures in the 40s until we get to about midnight, and then we start to drop into the 30s with that patchy frost and fog out there. Mild through the rest of the week, but look at these key points as we see that weather change unfold. Rain and snow returning, snow level about 6,000 to 7,000 feet. This all starts to get going on Sunday. Here's the big plume of moisture sitting off the coast. That's just the first in a series of storms to head our way. So over the next 7 days, we're looking at roughly about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of rain for Northern California, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches through the Central Valley. The first storm approaches and really starts to take shape over the weekend and will finally make landfall during the day on Sunday. Initially as some lighter rain, and then the heavier stuff starts to fall on Monday, followed by more reinforcements for the rest of the week. So this is going to be an ongoing set of weather systems that continue to move our way in the 10-day forecast. And you'll see it right here as we start to see a big shift in that weather pattern, primarily late in the day on Sunday, taking us through on and off next week. And beyond that, we're looking at even more wet weather into Christmas week as well.
Next, a closer look into the case of the Golden State Killer. I sat down with a lead prosecutor, plus what D'Angelo is now doing in prison.
The Golden State Killer, the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker.
His real name, Joseph D'Angelo. He's one of the most prolific serial killers and rapists in the country.
Do you feel any remorse for what you did to me?
This is her. Look at her face.
He is a predator of people. That's what he enjoyed doing.
We're taking a closer look at the case.
The only time that you were able to see a glimpse of the true monster, Joseph D'Angelo, was in his cell in those moments.
I sat down with Sacramento County District Attorney Tin Ho, who shared with me new details about the investigation and the moments that changed him. A haunting voice. It sticks with you. Joseph James D'Angelo's chilling threats were just one layer of torture. He began terrorizing Sacramento County in 1976, laying in wait while his victims slept.
He was able to escape very quickly from his crime scenes, and he would just disappear in the night, right? Almost as if he vanished, like a ghost, like a boogeyman.
Ambushing girls as young as 13 years old, blinding them with light, binding their hands, then raping them.
Sacramento was a quiet, sleepy town. People would leave their doors unlocked, their windows open. But when he started committing his crimes, everybody started locking their doors. People couldn't buy enough locks, guns. It gripped the community, the fear.
In the cover of darkness, he preyed on people in Carmichael, Citrus Heights, and Rancho Cordova, often targeting couples. While raping the women, he would psychologically torture their husbands, tying them up and placing dishes on their back, threatening them not to move.
He was very savvy. When he committed his crimes initially, his victims, his sexual assault victims, all lived. By the time he was committing his murders in Southern California, he was killing everyone, not leaving behind any victims.
D'Angelo left a trail of fear all throughout California.
He committed 13 known murders, over 50 rapes, and 120 burglaries up and down the state of California in 11 different counties.
Sacramento County District Attorney Tian Ho helped put D'Angelo in prison. Investigators with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office and the District Attorney's Office connected him to the crimes using DNA. The arrest came on April 24th, 2018. D'Angelo, a retired mechanic, was home in Citrus Heights when investigators arrived at his door. He was living in the shadows for decades in Sacramento County. District Attorney Ho remembers the night when detectives first interviewed D'Angelo.
When he was first interviewed and put in an interview room, if you go back and you look at the booking photo, there's red at the top of his head. He actually ran his head into the wall. And so we were worried that he was going to hurt himself.
That's when the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office placed D'Angelo inside a cell with cameras. Ho was tasked with watching the videos and noticed something unusual.
There's a video of him where he's walking into his cell with a cane in one hand, and he's hobbling, and he's moving very slowly as he walks into his cell. And then the moment the door closes, he puts the cane down, and he starts just walking just fine.
So you felt like you were witnessing firsthand another mask that he was just wearing?
Absolutely. He was always trying to manipulate us, the public, his family, everybody.
When the prosecution began laying out their case, collecting evidence from 11 different counties, Ho tracked every piece of evidence.
I was tasked with coordinating the discovery from all the different counties, making sure that we had them, that they were documented, that they were cataloged, that they were organized, and then sending them over to the defense.
Former Sacramento County District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert alleged special circumstances making D'Angelo eligible for the death penalty. But the prosecution ended up making a deal: life in prison.
I disagreed with that decision originally because...
Why did you disagree?
Because if anybody deserved the death penalty, it was him. 13 murders, 50 rapes, 120 burglaries. If anybody deserved it, it was him.
But one of D'Angelo's victims ultimately changed his mind.
Phyllis was the very first known sexual assault victim in Sacramento. I would see Phyllis come to court every single time. And Phyllis would sit right there in the front row. And I always come up and I said, "Phyllis, how you doing today?" And we would chat, we would talk. I would tell her what was going to happen that day.
In June of 2020, the Sacramento State Ballroom became the courtroom, a building big enough for all of his victims to watch the man who had haunted their lives for decades plead guilty to 13 murders, 13 counts of kidnapping. Phyllis wasn't there. She was in the hospital fighting cancer. But on sentencing day, she made it to the hearing. It's a moment that Ho keeps close.
I look across, and who do I see? Phyllis. And Phyllis had this beautiful smile on her face. For the first time in 40 years, Phyllis was able to get a sense of closure and justice. About 3 months after that, she died from cancer. If we would have proceeded on this case, seeking the death penalty, Phyllis and all those other victims would not have obtained justice.
When he was sentenced, what was that feeling like for you?
Relief. There's never joy, there's only relief. Relief that he was brought to justice. People ask me from time to time, why do you think he stopped? And my response to that is, what makes you think he did stop?
D'Angelo is now serving 26 life sentences without the possibility of parole at an undisclosed prison in California.
He is in a secure facility, in a secure unit. I get updates on him regularly.
Has anything happened?
Not yet.
How's his health?
His health so far is fine.
Can you share what his typical day looks like?
You know, in terms of his typical day, anything else in prison, he wakes up, he does have a job in prison.
What does he do?
Well, I think I'm gonna not talk about what he does, but he does have a job in prison. He is in a cell. He obviously is in a protected unit because of his status.
3 years after the sentencing, Tian Ho says that he still thinks about the case, about the victims, and knows Joseph D'Angelo is where he belongs.
I mean, the human being is capable of such great beauty, but the human animal is capable of such great depravity. And you get to see that and see a glimpse of it. And does it have an effect on you? Absolutely. From time to time I think about the case, but what I do now in order to deal with all that is I think about the people and not the crime. And it gives me hope when I think about bringing justice for those people. So that's what I hang on to.
Next, criminals are using AI trying to scam you during the holidays. How you can protect yourself. Before we go, I want to share what we're working on for tomorrow. A new warning about how criminals are working to take advantage of you using AI. Among the common holiday scams we all know are texts and emails claiming there's a problem with one of your online gift orders. Criminals will provide links that will open the door for them to take your information. But now artificial intelligence is helping criminals write their texts and emails in a more convincing way. So coming up tomorrow on To The Point, we look at how it works and dig into ways that you can protect yourself. All right, thank you so much for joining us tonight on To The Point. We are always working to bring you more context and information to issues that are happening right here in Northern California. So if there is something that you care about or you just want more information on, make sure you reach out to me and the team. Have a great night. I'll see you later.